Hey, you guys
We're recording.
right?
We're recording right now.
and welcome everyone. We are here with a new interview.
My name is Joshua Mathieu, founder and creator of Toonami Squad. We have here with us.
I'm
Introduce yourself.
Is that the part where I come in?
right. Is this my line?
The man who needs no introduction will now introduce himself.
Right.
Hi, my name is Sean Chiplock. I go online by Sonic Mega, most notably on Twitter. And I'm a professional voiceover artist who's been doing this full time since about 2013. So, yeah.
Nice.
Thank you for joining us for this interview.
Thank you for having me.
We also have with us Michael,
Hello.
Logan, also
Howdy.
Smoolish on Twitter, and Phantom, and also Steven.
What's up? I did a social media.
I like your shirt, Phantom.
Oh, thanks.
I myself, I don't know if you saw, I forget, I think it was part of the Zeldathon marathon, but they had that Link's Awakening shirt with Link and the Bow Wow pet.
Oh, man.
So as soon as I saw that shirt, I picked it up because Link's Awakening is my jam.
My older brother, Nick, is a huge Zelda fan, so he would love that.
Aw. Does he have Breath of the Wild?
Oh, yes.
Tell him to mail it to me. I'll sign it and mail it back.
I'm sure if he sees this, he'll probably do it.
That's an offer you can't refuse right there.
Exactly. And I did tell him ahead of time about this.
So if you got
Awesome.
we'll start with
Yeah.
questions.
Let's get into it.
Yes.
Being as Toonami was something that was very important to you growing up, we'll start the interview off with some questions related to Toonami.
Okay.
First question is, when did you first start watching Toonami?
Oh man. Well, first, I don't even know if I remember when Toonami started. Was it one of those turn of the century ones? Like, did it start around 2000?
It's like in the 90s, like late 90s.
Late 90s?
97.
Okay, like, because the earliest memory I have regarding Toonami had to be when they were doing like the music blocks, because I remember discovering the Gorillaz because of Adult Swim. When they had their music video for I think it's called Clint Eastwood, the one with Sunshine.
Oh,
Yes.
I love that video so much.
So-
We're probably talking about Midnight Run Special Edition.
Probably, yeah, almost certainly. So assuming that I'm correct in the timeline of that, my earliest memory of Toonami was 2002, which at the same time is really weird because it's like, there's no way Toonami's been around for like 20-something years. What? Like, how has that much time passed? So I want to say it's around 2002 is at least when the first significant memory happened. Because you have to understand, kid in middle school, high school, Toonami was used more often as white noise in the background as it was, active watching or something to fall asleep to. So
Mhm.
I think you kind of answered this already, but what is the most memorable thing for you from watching Toonami?
I did not answer that actually because the whole reason why Toonami led to me discovering voiceover. Do you guys remember about like, God, I don't know how long ago. It was like 5-7 years ago when they had like that neon pastel advertising strip. It was like that really annoying, simply drawn blob guy in neon colors who'd be like, AdultSwim.com, it's got games and previews of shows.
Oh,
You
yeah.
should check it out.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
No one, we don't remember any advertising blocks except that one because of how annoying it was.
Yeah.
And of course, it was one of those evenings where it was like repeating some form of that advertisement like every 15-30 minutes. And it actually pissed me off so much that I did what any person being annoyed by instructions on a TV would do. And I followed them and went to AdultSwim.com. So that was actually, I'm sure there will be a future question that dives into this. But that's what is the most memorable thing, is because that annoying little neon colored gremlin is what led to me discovering voiceover.
That's incredible.
Do you have any other favorite moments from Toonami speeches or anything like that?
I feel bad because like we're talking about many different elements in the past, and so there's a lot of things that were favorite moments for me, but just due to the passage of time have kind of fallen to the wayside just because my memory bank has been filled up with other stuff. But I was there. I was there when the first when the first intruder arc happened. I had to go on to CartoonNetwork.com and play the Tom game. If I wanted, I had to press my keyboard buttons through 20 feet of snow. So So I was
man.
there. I was there when the first Tom got overtaken and when his consciousness got transferred over into the next version. I was there for those games. I was there during the Cartoon Network, what was that? That summer game? I don't remember what it was, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. The summer game where you had to do the big trading. Like you had to go to like all these island residents and you were constantly trading one item for another item.
I remember that. I played that. Can't remember the
Because
name.
it had like everybody from Cartoon Network. It was like you had to take like a tennis ball from Dexter and give it to Courage the Cowardly Dog, and then he gave you something that you had to give to Double D from Ed, Ed and Eddie, like Cartoon Network Cabana something, whatever. But so yeah, all those early moments when I was in the thick of the Newgrounds era, that's really that defined a big part of my childhood, especially in early high school.
It's called Cartoon Network Summer Resort.
Summer Resort. There you go.
Oh man, that's a throwback right there. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Next question. What are your favorite shows from Toonami?
Man, I have different shows for different reasons. Inuyasha was a favorite because that show won the award for most number of times I was woken up by the ending theme song. the number of times that I would be up at 2:56 in the morning by
Oh god.
Yeah, you guys are like,
bring up
I
past
know that
memories.
one.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm trying to think. Cowboy Bebop had an episode where there was the amusement park with the guy who was basically a kid trapped in an adult's body, right? Like he was kind of like the really.
Yeah.
So I didn't manage to follow all of Cowboy Bebop. I did later watch the entire series, but that was one of those episodes that just kind of really stuck with me just because of like how I not identify, but just how I empathized on some levels with the villain of that episode who really just wanted, to play, he wanted someone that he could have fun with. So that show kind of struck a chord with me for that reason. Full Metal Alchemist, both the original and the Brotherhood series were great in their own right. There's actually an ongoing YouTube series. I don't know if it's complete by now, but there's a YouTube series that explored the differences between the original and Brotherhood and why in some regards the original was better than Brotherhood and why in some regards Brotherhood was better than the original. But it really looked into like the analysis of both these shows on a deeper level, and I really appreciate that it was able to bring out the elements of both shows that were good in their own right. So most shows on Toonami from that era were meaningful to me in some way. Probably in the newer generation, if I had to pick one that I really liked, you know what? I admit that I didn't start watching it until I was a part of it or I had to do research on it, but damn, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a ride. My wife couldn't get into it because she was like, even the women look like guys. What's with this art style? I don't understand it.
Oh my god.
But I am someone who really likes exaggeration. I'm a story. When I do comedy, when I have stand-up comedy, I do it through storytelling. I'm someone who does observational humor and exaggeration. So when the entire show is people like, hey, there's a hand on the ground. Nani? There's a hand on the ground? And then they go into like 2-minute monologues of, that couldn't be my hand because both of my hands are still attached. But I could tell that my partner still has his hands as well, which means that hand must belong to the guy who steals hands, just like the exposition is so stupid, but they do it in such an entertaining way that it's easy for me to be hooked. I really enjoy that. My wife is over here like, yep, for someone with your brain, that definitely would be your thing, and I love her. We're already starting the divorce proceedings because she won't watch it, but it's still a good show.
Oh my god.
Fair enough.
Okay, next question. Do you have a favorite version of Tom and or Sarah?
All right. Bomberman Tom will always be my personal favorite just because I've always been a really big fan of Bomberman. He had the right stature for it. He was at the very beginning of Toonami. However, I want to mother Tom 3.5's kids. It's weird. It's weird because Tom 1 hits my heart the hardest. Tom 2 was kind of like the special one. He's not the coolest looking one, but Tom 2 was like the one that I had the most time with. So he's just kind of like there for me, you know? But Tom 3.5, whew, oh man. Okay.
In all his HD glory.
Probably the best fit for Steve Bloom's voice as well. I know that Steve Bloom has always voiced him, but that was just where the design and the voice just came together and fit really well. So yeah,
that's awesome. And yeah, he definitely he's pretty jacked now.
Yeah,
yeah, he's in the gym.
He kind of went for a simplistic look on Tom 5.0, but when I saw Tom 3.5, I was like, yes, baby, let's go. Tell you what, if Sarah ever retires, let me know. I want to be in front of you.
You'll get the first crack at him.
Hopefully, Tom will get a much-needed upgrade in November after the Forge.
All right.
Oh yeah, the Forge is coming.
Nice.
Now are we? Is Tom like part of Fortnite now? Do we have seasons?
Maybe that's what the black hole is about.
Perhaps.
Oh, no.
I mean, then again, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. I mean, you got Thanos, then you got Batman.
It's kind of the ultimate conclusion, really.
I can't wait for like neon or crayon Shin-chan Tom. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Breaking
It's not ready.
is revealed.
And from there tonight, we're gonna watch Bono!
Oh man, yeah, that'll be the day.
Yeah.
Oh wait, sorry. I have to answer previously before we move on. Second court, Sarah V1 is the best Sarah. I enjoyed the original Sarah. I appreciate Sarah V3. We don't talk about Sarah V2. All right, she doesn't exist. Moving on. Okay. What was the other question?
Next question. When and/or how did Toonami help you first realize you wanted to become a voice actor?
All right, so going back to check out Dubswag.com. I'm gonna keep bugging you until you do it. So as I'm browsing the website, I end up finding this clip. It was like an upcoming sneak preview of an episode of Trinity Blood. And you guys obviously, hopefully remember the old MTV like behind the music video stuff where they would show a music video and little factoid bubbles about the production or the singer or something like that would show up. So it was like that. It was a preview clip of like the second third of the episode, but little factoid bubbles would pop up with info about the show, who's voicing the characters, and one of them had a hyperlink to a behind-the-scenes video of the recording process. So I clicked on that, and it took me to an inside the booth during a recording session with Troy Baker recording for Able Night Road. Back when Troy Baker did anime. Back in the olden days. And it wasn't, they showed two different cameras. They had the screen of the clip he was recording, and they had him actually standing in the booth. And the director's going, okay, here's the next line. Boop, boop, boop. And Troy Baker starts talking. And he wasn't doing any weird voice. They weren't putting like a voice filter on like, those Darth Vader Halloween helmets. It was just Troy Baker talking, maybe doing a little something with his voice, but nothing computerized. And he's talking at the same time the guy's lips are moving, and it was at that moment that like the little light bulb went on and went, hey, people do this. When you hear people in games and cartoons, there's a person behind there. And like this wasn't something I was completely new to because, I had played Mega Man Legends, Mega Man 64, so I'd obviously heard voiceover performances, and I was aware of the concept of giving voices to the characters because when my younger brother and I would play like Bomberman 64 The Second Attack, or when one of my older friends and I would play Final Fantasy 12, we would take turns voicing characters in the unvoiced scenes. So this was even before I understood voiceover was a thing. It was something I was already doing. This was just the catalyst that made me realize that it was a thing, like, oh, people do this for money. I want money. So
who doesn't?
That's amazing. That's a really incredible story to hear. You get inspired by that, especially with Troy Baker in earlier in his career, and
right.
That's cool to hear.
Yeah. So that's really what. So thank you, annoying neon pastel gremlin. If it weren't for you, I might be living in a van down by the river.
Thank God for that, then. Yeah.
So next question, and forgive me if I mispronounced this name. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I'm gonna try my best. But when you announced that you were voicing Guido and Six Bullets in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind, you said there aren't enough words in a single tweet to express how important this is to you. As Guido and Six Bullets, I hope to manage to inspire someone into pursuing voiceover in the same way that Toonami led to the discovery of my own passion for the craft. This is a huge milestone for me. How much does it mean to you to have that opportunity?
I mean, it kind of speaks for itself. You know, the fact that, you know, Toonami or a show on Toonami or you know, even if it was an in-between led to me discovering voiceover. And now all these years later, I am playing a major character on a show that a lot of people are probably going to want to watch. I'm not expecting it to happen. I don't feel entitled to anything. Like, I am going to be someone's inspiration. But the idea that I could end up inspiring someone to pursue voiceover because one day they want to be on Toonami. Because you have to understand, back when I first got into voiceover, I still have the page saved. The very first thing I said about it online was a Newgrounds forum post where I said, guys, I know what I want to do with my life. And this is so cute. I said, before I die, I want to voice in an anime. And it wasn't even like, I want to voice a main character in an anime. It was just, I want to be a role in anime in any capacity. So the bar was set very low at the time. We need to understand. So it's just that idea that, you know, that's how someone like me got into it. So it's not unreasonable to think that the same thing could happen for somebody else. And I was previously on Toonami as Diabel in Sword Art Online, but that was like a 1-episode stint, and he dies in the same episode. Spoilers. So this means a lot to me in regards to it being like an important character and in a recurring role in a big series that a lot of people like. Like I said, like I implied in the tweet, it's hard for me to put in the words. It's just like, anytime that I am able to become a part of the community I was once just a consumer of, it feels like I'm finally having a chance to give back. And that's very fulfilling to me, is because I feel bad if I'm always consuming without producing content. So that's why it means a lot to me. It's like, hey, you know, I was an audience member, I watched these shows, and now I can give back. I can be a part of that.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think that's pretty awesome that you want to give back to the community like that.
Thank you.
Next question. How did you get the opportunity to get the role for Guido in Six Bullets?
That one's not really exciting. It was the same process as anything else. Well, I mean, not a lot of people know, so it's good to explain.
True.
Generally, the two core ways that you will get work besides online freelance work is either if you have an agency like I do with SBV Talent, they will be sent the audition sides by the clients and then we'll forward them to actors. Or a lot of recording studios such as Bang Zoom, Studiopolis, Dave and Dave Studios, Mark Grau, they get the contracts to dub these shows or to produce the recordings. And then they have a casting director in-house who will compile the sides, and then they have a talent roster. Now, how you get on this talent roster could be any number of ways. Either you went to like a workshop that they were hosting and they liked what you did and wanted to add you to their list. This isn't as common anymore, but you emailed them and said, are you accepting demo applications? You send the demo. If they like what they hear, they put you on their talent roster. You get referred by an existing talent, like maybe the existing talent's working on a show. Like, for example, say I'm working as Guido Six Bullets, and they're like, hey, you know, we still haven't found a voice yet for Diavolo, who's going to come in later in the series. Do you have anyone who you think might be a good fit? And we can have them send an audition in. And so referrals like that can happen that way. So that happens for Western animation, for video games, for live action dubs. And so, you know, whether it's for Sword Art, whether it's for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, whether it's for a video game like Astral Chain, the auditions will pretty much come in the same way. We will be forwarded an opportunity to audition either from our agency or from the studio. It contains the characters they'd like to hear us read for. We record auditions, we send them in, and then we hope for the best.
Nice. Okay. Next question. How does it feel to have your work on Toonami and to have it last more than just one episode?
I'm, you know, whenever I get a question like that, it really boils down. I bring it back to like how I felt when I recorded for Breath of the Wild, which was, man, I hope I don't suck. That's really what it boils down to. You know, I'm being entrusted with giving a character life in a language that most people in this country listen to and understand thoroughly, and in most cases, I will be the only known English portrayal of that character, at least for the foreseeable future. So it's a big burden. You know, I want to make sure that I give a performance that I can be proud of, and I also want to give a performance that's faithful to the performance of the original, that audiences can listen to and go, you know, this entertained me. I had fun. I enjoy this character. So for me, the chance to relax doesn't really come until after the show has already aired. And then I hold my breath and I'm like looking online, seeing what people say about it. And for the most part, people go, hey, I really liked what Sean Chiplock did. And I can go, oh, okay, I'm allowed to eat this week.
I completely get it. Yeah, like I did like theater for like high school, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna suck so bad.
Right?
And I was like, oh yeah, you did good. I'm like, oh cool, thanks.
Yeah, I knew it all along. I had complete faith in myself.
That's probably that's something hard to get over, no matter how long you've been doing the craft. I would imagine.
Right.
So I was curious, how long have you been a fan of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? I know you mentioned kind of starting when you got the role. Have you read much of the manga at all?
I had lived vicariously through my JoJo addicted friends, so I was like aware of the memes and aware about the characters just from, you know, wiki pages and TV tropes and stuff like that. But I hadn't actually been directly familiar with the franchise. I would like to spend time to go back and like watch how it all began, especially because there's interconnectedness. The fact that, you know, in Golden Wind you have Joseph Joestar. You know, in like the first episode, you know, it's not just, oh, it's a new arc, so it's brand new scenery, no one from the past matters. You know, the fact that Giorno is Dio's kid, you know, I like that there's continuity there. So I do plan to go back and watch the other arcs. And I'm enjoying what I'm seeing so far, but otherwise I'm kind of new to it. But I want people to rest assured that this doesn't mean I'm going into the recording sessions completely, you know, unknowing, because I do watch the episodes ahead of time, and I do the wiki, I do the TV tropes. So as far as Golden Wind goes and the characters and their relationships, I do keep abreast of what's going on. So please trust me when I say I'm educating myself.
Nice. That's great to hear. Yeah. So do you plan on watching alongside the dub of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind as it plays on Toonami?
Does Toonami simuldub stream it? Like, is it available online in addition to TV, or is it mostly just TV right now?
It's TV right now.
Then no.
If you have access to cable, they also have it on their website. I don't know if you have like the cable sign-in type of deal. No.
We cut the cord years ago.
Oh no, that's fair. Yeah. That's understandable in this day and
We
age.
used to have Fling when we went back to Spectrum.
So.
We also, so maybe once it comes out on other streaming platforms,
right.
perhaps.
And I love Toonami. I respect Toonami, but I'm not about to purchase a cable package just for Toonami.
Oh, I completely
Right.
understand.
They need the Toonami streaming service, like a Netflix deal, you know.
Toonami Plus.
Exactly.
Toonami
That's
Plus.
right.
Toonami Plus. That's actually not a bad idea.
Right.
Somebody get Jason on the line.
What they'll do is they'll premiere it on Toonami, then they'll make it available on their website and app. For like the first few days, you have to log in.
Dude.
Oh,
telling you right now, I know this would never happen because of licensing, but if you had a Toonami app and you paid 50 cents per episode, like either 50 cents or $1, probably 50 cents per episode, and you could like just have access to it, or at least watch it for a week or something like that. The sheer amount of money people would make from people just catching up on old franchises, watching it on their phones, easy peasy. Easy
money.
But after a certain amount of time passes, they'll usually make the episode free on the Adult Swim website.
Right, exactly.
That's right. I think that's actually right. They do that with ads, right? I think
the big problem is a lot of people in our generation are willing to wait, either because economically we are forced to, or we just personally choose to. Like, we got stuff to do. We grew up in the era of watch it on demand. So the idea of, if you want to see this episode, be here at 1:30 in the morning, we're like, nah, I'll just wait for it to come out on Crunchyroll or something like that, you know? So
are you a binge watcher kind of person? Or are you more episodic? What do you prefer there?
It ranges, man. Like, for example, when I saw Inferno Cop, I binged all of that in 3.5 hours. For shows like Anohana, I watched like 4 episodes before deciding that I liked myself too much to keep watching it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Nice.
Look, man, I've gone this far in life without antidepressants, so...
I can't recommend BoJack Horseman either, unfortunately.
I mean, it took us 2 days to stream the new season of Stranger Things.
Look, man, if I want to watch BoJack Horseman... Oh, sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying that it took us like 2 days to stream all of Stranger Things in 2 days.
Right. But like if I want to watch BoJack Horseman, I can do that without spending money, because if I turn 45 degrees to my right, there's a mirror right here.
Right, that's fair. Yeah, I think that's pretty relatable. Speaking of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, what can you tell us about Guido and Six Bullets' personality, and how did you approach portraying that character?
Well, so far I'm confident that I've done a good job of portraying Guido's like loyalty and his logic thinking process. I feel like I could do a little bit better with showing his calm, rational side, because like going into his backstory of how he was just so confident and calm in a moment of extreme danger. I've kind of been giving him that very focused, loyal protagonist sidekick role, but I do want to make sure I don't completely lose that his I'm trying to think of the word, his laid back attitude in the process. So I'm still developing him, but what I've done so far I'm very proud of. Six Bullets was different because the original Japanese, like, all of their voices sound pretty similar except for minor affects. So I had to figure out a way to do 6 different high-pitched voices that were distinct enough so that you know who was talking. Yeah. Well, for the most part, it was easy. I either had a visual cue, like looking at the face of the bullet and like designing a voice based on that. Their attitude, like, you know, since number 3 is always bullying number 5, it was easy to give number 3 a more aggressive, bully-like tone. You know, maybe a little gritty, maybe a little like demonic, like he's mean. Whereas number 5 was very tender and timid, so we go with something more high-pitched, more frail, probably annoying because it would make you want to beat him up. So. That's really the core of voiceover. If nothing else, before you add nuance, you go, what's the pitch I want to do? What's the volume or the level of power I want to put into the voice? It's like a cube with 3 different facets that you mix and match in different quantities in order to come up with a foundation for the voice.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. It's amazing to think that you can juggle all those roles like that, you know, and doing all these voices and stuff for these different parts of Six Bullets. That's
right. Incredible.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just blown away by that. You know, speaking more specifically about Toonami again, how did you react to Toonami's cancellation in 2008?
During that period, I had just started college. You know, that was also right around when I had cut cable, just because I didn't really have a lot of access to it, except for like doing Wi-Fi on Brawl or something like that. Yeah, I had other focuses at the time, you know, whether it was Maple Story or Oh My God Pop. So I guess it was fortunate timing for me because I didn't really notice the cancellation because I'd moved on by then.
And then how did you react then, or were you familiar when the April Fool's prank and subsequent revival of Toonami happened in 2012?
I thought they were major assholes for doing that. No, but it was the loving, like, you know what, that's really cool. Also screw you, you know, like. I guess the best way I can describe it is I just thought to myself, I was like, yeah, you know, I really hope it comes back. I think it would be really mean if they did that and didn't at least make an effort. But it was nice to have it. You know, I didn't feel entitled like they had better bring it back. You know, how dare they do that? So when the revival movement started, when people were like really on board with it was one of those like I felt bad that I wasn't also actively contributing because it was something that I too wanted, but I wasn't putting in the effort to showcase my support. But I was grateful for everyone who was, and I was like, I don't deserve this, but I'm really glad that we got it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it too. I came in late to the party and kind of realized after the fact what was going on and
It's
stuff.
if Sonic 2006 was a game that we didn't want but got anyway, Toonami was something that we did get and we really wanted it. So it was a win-win for everybody.
Oh yes, very true. So since Toonami's revival, have there been any moments that have been your favorites of yours, other than getting to voice Guido and six bullets on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
Since Toonami's revival, I don't think there's a like I said, you know, once you cut the cable, it's really easy to not go back. So I don't think there's been enough moments that I've seen of Toonami. Was Brotherhood after the revival, or was that before the cancellation?
It's been there prior to its revival.
But it was on there after too.
It was
Okay.
on Adult Swim Action, yeah.
It was on Adult Swim Action, and then it re-aired on Toonami after the revival as well.
Okay. I think I saw Brotherhood right before the cancellation, so there wasn't any moments after the revival that I distinctly remember. But one thing that I do remember from before the cancellation is I remember at one point in Toonami's history, there were 3 different shows that played back to back to back. It was like Legend of Legendary Heroes, Bleach, and Code Geass, where Johnny Young Bosch was like the main character for all 3 of those shows. So it was the Johnny Bosch Power Hour and a half, and I just thought it was really funny, you know. Like, sure, it'd be really nice if somewhere down the line I managed to have my own Power Hour arc on Toonami. But you know, I'm not entitled to that. I just thought it was really funny. That it was like, now here's it was like, oh, that's Johnny Young Bosch. Oh, that's Johnny Young Bosch. Hi, Johnny Young Bosch.
Then we had the Watanabe Hour.
Right?
With Bebop and Space Dandy.
Oh my god. How could we talk about my favorite Toonami shows and not bring up Samurai Champloo?
Oh, nice.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yes.
So retroactively, that show deserved all the love and praise that it got.
It sure does.
Wait, who was the lead role in that?
Steve? I know Steve
Was
Blum.
that Steve?
Steve Blum.
That was
Steve
Bloom.
Bloom. Steve Bloom.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was about to say, was that Johnny Young Bosch?
No.
Not again.
I mean, I know Kari's in it too.
So
Another name
Alright.
is eluding me right now.
Yeah.
right.
Are there any shows you would recommend for Toonami to air in the future that you might want to see on there?
Okay, I promise this is not a whiny, self-entitled jerk answer. Please trust me. I was so bummed when ReZero never got put on Toonami because that was my first lead role in an anime. It was a role that was so intense that like literally the studio dubbing it had a check-in with me before I was cast and said, you realize what you're signing up for, right? Like, we need to make sure that you know what you're getting into and that you're going to be able to vocally perform for it. And I said, yes, I'm aware. You know, it's some of the best work I've ever done. Like between the underground, like, have you guys seen the show?
Absolutely.
Okay, without giving spoilers, you know the scene where he's underground and he screams bloody murder for 60 seconds straight? I did that in one take.
Wow.
Wow.
Now, industry standards require that I do a safety take, but even the voice director said, obviously, we're going to have you do a safety take, but I'm telling you right now, we're just going to go with that first take. Like, that's how solid it was.
Wow.
There was that part late in the series where I play the villain playing as me, using my voice. But
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But then there's the scene where I am fighting off the villain who's trying to play as me. So it's me followed by the villain voicing as me, followed by me voicing me trying to fight the villain. And that's also a case where we didn't separate the lines. I switched between those voices in the same take. So there are so many elements of that show that I want to show off to people, and yet it was to my knowledge, it was the one dub produced by Bang Zoom in that 2-year span that didn't end up on Toonami, and it hurt my heart because of that, because I just really wanted to be able to show off, show the goods. I wanted to be able to show the goods. And it didn't happen. And at this point, because of all the office politics that surrounded the show and its localization, I don't think it's ever going to end up on Toonami. So it hurts, and I have moved on, but it's just one of those sad facts of the industry of sometimes things don't work out the way you want them to.
That's too bad. I'm sorry to hear that.
On Toonami one day, I really would.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
The opener is a bopper. Both of the opening theme songs.
Oh,
are
absolutely.
And those will be getting the full run on Toonami because Jason loves his good music. So
maybe if they recast Subaru to Johnny Young Botch.
There you go. That sounds like a solution. Yeah.
There you go.
So, how did you first get started in voice acting?
When I got started in voice acting, which was January of 2007, we're talking Windows Sound Recorder recordings. My first hub was Newgrounds, because I was really deep into Newgrounds at the time, with voting on new submissions and stuff like that. And so I would lurk through the forums to see if people were looking for voiceover artists for stuff like claymations or animation episode or indie animations or stuff like that. And then through an amazing individual who later would take me under his wing as his protege and became my mentor, I was introduced to the Voice Acting Club, which to this day is the longest lasting and probably the only thorough amateur/professional voice acting hub forum for people to network and connect and audition for both paid and indie volunteer projects. So that's really where I got started, where I started networking with my peers, where I started practicing, was between Newgrounds and eventually the Voice Acting Club. Did we lose someone?
Sorry, yeah, I was going there for a minute, but I'm back now. Sorry about that.
I was like, what happened?
Yeah, you don't get a repeat. Sorry.
I'll have to watch it on the replay. But how did it feel when you first started breaking out and getting voice acting roles?
Define breaking out.
Getting more popular, I suppose.
Define popular. No.
We could be here all night.
No, I'm not doing this to be a jerk. It's important because your scope of what makes something popular or someone well known could be way different from mine. And I have an answer depending on which section of breaking out we're talking about. Are we talking
what show what show was kind of your breakout?
I guess a show like when you like a show like Ray Zero, for example.
See, I don't know. That's hard for me because I don't know what defines as a breakout role for me. There are people who are like, I assume most people would say my Breath of the Wild appearance was my breakout role because that was the first role that was in front of a mass media audience. But there are other people that may say that like something like ReZero is a breakout role because it was a lead role, or maybe Trails of Cold Steel is a breakout role because it was a lead role in a multi-game series, So it's hard for me to answer like how I felt because the approach that I've always taken to voiceover, there's a quote that Will Smith said that I'm going to completely butcher, which is that you don't go out looking to build a brick wall. You go out and you say, I'm going to take this one brick and I'm going to lay it as perfectly as I can. And I'm going to do that with the next brick and the next brick and the next brick so that by the time I stand back and I look at the work that my portfolio that I've created, it's a super solid, well-placed brick wall comprised of individually perfectly laid bricks. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So I don't really think about now I'm a breakout. Now I've gotten all these good roles. I look at each individual opportunity that I'm given and I say, I'm going to do the best job that I can with this role so that either I have something I can be proud of or there's a challenge that I overcame or a client goes, hey, I know that Chiplock can play this type of role because he did this character in this series and he did a really good job with it. Let's send him to him. Or let's send the audition opportunity to him. So I look at each role as an opportunity not only to build my portfolio, but to continue to showcase and expand the public range of my skill set, how much of my skill set people are aware of, in the hopes that it will lead to more opportunities in the future.
Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if it boils right down to it, Revali was one of my biggest roles to date. But that game's almost 3 years old by this point. You know, it's great, and anytime someone brings it up, I will more than happily, engage, interact, connect with those memories. But it's 2.5 years old right now. I can't rest on those laurels forever. So I'm looking for stuff like Astral Chain. I'm looking for stuff like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm always looking for that future upcoming opportunity or future announcement that I can talk about, so that I can continue. This sounds weird, but hear me out. So that I can continue to be relevant, because relevant is very important in this industry. People want to take workshops, or they want to learn from people who have been booking roles in the last year or two, not people whose last major role was in a fighting game from like a decade ago. So that's just my mentality. Is I always want to stay hungry, and I want to use what my accomplishments, my current day accomplishments, to shoot for future opportunities.
Yeah, that sounds pretty smart, actually. That's really interesting. That's not an answer I expected, but I'm glad that I heard that one. So when recording for character, I don't know if you might have a similar approach to this one, but how do you prepare for a role?
Beforehand, I'm definitely like a wiki person. Like, I'll check out TV tropes. If I've played the game before, that usually helps a ton. If I haven't played it before, I'll look up resources, whether it's wikis on my character, like I said, TV tropes, or generally I'll be somewhat familiar with it already just because of online memes. I know that seems like a weird way to get information, but when I did learn part of Guido and his 6 bullets because of people making memes about how his 6 bullets acted, and how the rest of the cast interacted towards him. And then once I'm in the booth, I'm very much a method actor. If I can take a stance, pose a certain way, have a physical tick or gesture that helps me get into character. When I recorded for God, I don't even remember his name. Does anyone remember what the name of Gruda, the main bad guy from East Memories of Salsetta? Guido was very much I'm smarter than all of you, and I think about everything in a very logical way. So when I went in for the recording session, I brought in my copy of Hyrule Historia, and I opened it and I held it in my left hand like Robin would from Fire Emblem. And I took this persona on as though he were a bookworm who felt that he was smarter than everybody else in the room. And that's what helped me get into character for him. For Guido Mista, the number of times that I've said a line while also holding my hands to my side in the shape of a gun, like my 2 hands together, like when he's doing that scene where he's like hiding behind the truck and he's got his gun on his side while he's debating what to do, I absolutely was standing exactly like that.
Wow, that's method acting right there.
And when he's fighting on top of the truck and he takes the bullet wounds, I shot myself before those lines. Before everything. I wanted the pain to be real.
That's commitment.
But Ted, the last bit I'll add on to this, to give a serious answer, I actually couldn't listen to my own gagging, blood throwing up takes in ReZero, because I was so into giving realistic noises that when they would play them back, it would activate my gag reflex. So
Wow.
I actually couldn't listen to my own suffering noises in ReZero.
Well, bravo on the accuracy there.
So far, what's been your favorite roles to voice, and have you ever voiced a character that you didn't really like so much?
Well, as I said before, I try to find something. Part of staying humble and staying appreciative of my work is I try to find something about every character that I voice to take home with me, whether it's something that I knew would be an absolute strength of mine that I knocked out of the park. For example, Zenk from Fairy Fencer F. something that was a challenge or something that was a new milestone for me that I'd never done before. For example, Rean Schwarzer being a lead role who came back multiple times. Or something that was a big challenge for me that I overcame. A big example being Rebholz, where I came in with an understanding of his personality and then I had to start from square one because they wanted to do something different. Or even the Great Deku Tree, which was a voice so low pitched for me, I could not do that voice unless I relaxed every muscle in my body, because if my throat was too tight, I couldn't open it wide enough to get enough air to do that voice for him. Now, when you say a voice to character I don't like, do you mean like the character themselves I think is a jerkwad, or I just didn't like performing as the character?
I guess, like, I'm not sure.
I guess to give us both answers.
Well, for a character that I don't enjoy performing, if I wouldn't enjoy performing that character, I won't audition for them, plain and simple. I think that's a disservice to the community if I take on a character that I'm not personally invested in. So that's just my personal choice on the matter. A character that I don't like who I think is a dick. All right. So have any of you played Fairy Fencer F at all?
I'm not familiar with the title.
When you meet Zank, the first time you meet Zank, he is trying to get a grandfather and his granddaughter to fight each other to the death for his amusement. The grandfather says, "I don't want any part of this," so he commits suicide, and Zank is pissed. Hold on, we're not done yet. Zank is pissed because his chance for entertainment was ruined, so he tells his underlings to grab the grandfather, chop his body up into pieces, and force feed them to the granddaughter.
Damn.
Oh my.
Wow.
Wow.
That's hardcore right there.
So I feel like he's a little bit of a jerk. He could stand to.
Yeah, that is pretty jerky. Yeah.
So among characters you've voiced in the past, who's been some of your personal favorites?
This is going to be a cop-out, but like I said before, I find something about every character to take home with me. So Rean Schwarzer was my favorite because I got to do the attack battle call-outs like in Tales of Symphonia, which is one of my favorite games. ReZero was a really big deal for me because of the lead character. Tebo was a special character to me from Breath of the Wild because Tebo was an example of I saw the character, I told the casting director, I know exactly what he sounds like. They said, show us, I did it, and they went, yup. So what you hear in Breath of the Wild from Teba is 100% my vocal creation without any tweaking from the director whatsoever.
Wow.
And that's nuts. That's nuts to be a voiceover artist whose entire job is to create characters and try to figure out what they may sound like, and to have Nintendo and the director go, yes, that's how we want him to sound in our game, and it's what you came up with. Like, bruh, it doesn't get any better than that.
I'm gonna have to replay the game now.
Yeah. So if you had to pick, who would you rather play, the hero, the villain, or somewhere in between?
I don't really look at it in terms of I would rather play a hero or a villain. I really enjoy character types. So like the really gung-ho adventurer hero who's like he is I'm trying to think of how to do it without actually calling out the attacks because I don't want to blow out the webcam. But when you think of Ryuji from Persona 5, like that kind of character, or a villain who's very eccentric like Dis the Rose from Tales of the Abyss, I really enjoy exaggerated personalities just because that's really fun for me to play. And so those are the types of characters that I enjoy playing the most. But it doesn't matter whether they're a hero or they're a villain. It's more of the character personality, the archetype that I fall in love with.
All right. So, I know you were in the movie Detective Pikachu. What was it like doing voice work for the film? Very
brief. Like, my entire performance in that film can be done in like 10 seconds. Like literally, here's my entire performance from the film. Are you ready? Line 1. Attention passengers, welcome to Rhyme City. Please sit back and enjoy as we show you this. Oh no, I can't remember the line. It's attention all passengers. please sit back and enjoy this informational video as we welcome you to Rhine City. Line 2, game over. Gengar wins. Next battle ready. That's it. That's the whole performance.
Amazing.
You just heard everything from me that you could hear in Detective Pikachu. So
No, you just see, we've gotten the whole performance right here. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
so that's one of the cases where it's hard. I mentally understand how big a deal it is. Like, to be in a theater on release night and be able to turn to my friends as the credits roll up and said, guys, look, it's my name. Which, by the way, my name, because of the alphabetical ordering, shows up top center right underneath additional voices. Like, if you see
that's awesome.
if you see the words additional voices, you cannot miss my name. And that is the best freaking part, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great.
I understand why it's a big deal, but outside of that, it's like I don't put a lot of weight onto it. I don't go around telling people, hey, I was the voice of the train announcer in Detective Pikachu. both of those lines, you could take them out of the film and it wouldn't remove anything from the story. So I keep that in mind. However, probably what was the biggest deal to me is it's a union production and they were separate roles, which means I was paid the union rate per role, which means each of those lines paid me $875.16 before taxes.
Wow.
That's sweet.
You just got them for free.
Right?
Those suckers, they didn't know what they were
Right?
giving you. We got them now. No, but
Unless
that's
the
awesome, man.
copywriters. Unless the copywriters.
Right.
Oh,
No, that's really cool.
Right.
That can't beat that.
All right. So, if you could live the life of one of the characters you've played, who would it be and why?
You know, for all the suffering Subaru goes through,
Oh,
he does end up with best girl, Felix. So, no, if I could if I could live the life of any of the characters that I voice, I know that there's someone. Oh man, I'm trying to think. There's someone that's really meaningful to me, and I'm drawing a blank. Let's move on to the next question. I'm gonna try and think about that. Maybe
no
it'll
problem.
come to me. Just like
it is
highlight
sort
it
of
or
similar.
something. And come
That's
back.
one. Yeah. The next question is
Yeah.
sort of similar. If you could spend the day with one of the characters you voiced, who would it be and why? It's sort of the same thing.
Damn, these are really hard. I'm gonna go to. You know what? I'm going
Man,
to my
I'm giving you the hard
BTBA.
questions.
I'm going to my BTBA because
Yeah.
I'm giving you the hard questions.
I don't even remember the. Okay, no, I already know. I want to spend a day with Guido Mista because he appreciates fine Tuscan salami. Like,
Nice.
I want to go. I want to go to a restaurant with this guy. He knows what's up. If I could live the life of one of the characters that I voice, and we assume in the universe.
Mhm. I don't think so.
Let me see. Oh man, this is hard. This is really difficult.
Man, I feel bad. I give you the tough ones.
You know, like if I could live the life as one of the characters that I voice, because I don't want to appease someone who's like psychopathic. You know. You know what? Okay, so there's a guy I voice in this dating sim visual novel game for girls called Mr. Love Queen's Choice, and I voice Kiro the superstar who has the power of ultimate charm. Like he's a singing idol. He's also a hacker. So not only would I have that celebrity life of being able to be all these cool things and get to be parts of all these photo shoots, he loves potato chips. He loves food. He loves food in general. Are you noticing a trend here? Are you noticing a pattern?
Absolutely.
So it's a tie between living the life of Kiro so that I could eat great food all the time and living the life of Nanu so that I could be a hot dad and also have a Pokemon.
That is quite the combination.
This tongue of food gets me hungry. Man.
I'm starving right now, man.
Oh no.
All right. So, are there any behind-the-scenes stories from anything you've worked on that you're allowed to share with us?
The one that I tell everyone is when I recorded as Rash the Battletoad for Killer Instinct. One of the lines is that they needed him to beatbox to his pause menu music as his taunt, and the pause menu goes. It's just that bat over and over again. So they were like, just do some sort of beatboxing to it, just have fun with it. So it started off with me, doing my own beatboxing to it. And then about 15 seconds in, I start like really like dancing along to it, and you could hear it in the recording. And about 30 seconds in, I whip out an air guitar and I start doing my own like riff in the middle of the song. I only stop after about 60 seconds because I am out of breath at this point. Like I literally stop off on like like just like so I stop and I'm like, was that enough for you guys? Do you need a second take? Do you need a little bit more? And they chime in and they go, actually we had what we need after the first 10 seconds, but you were just having so much fun with it. We just wanted to let you go, see how far you go.
Oh my god. Wow.
So,
That's amazing.
I hope someday they'll release like the full uncut recording of that.
I want to hear this.
Right?
I know.
YouTube, please.
Oh man. So that brings on to my next question. Are there any shows you'd love to have the opportunity to voice in? And if so, if there's any characters?
This is a question that I have an answer for, but I pick a different answer, which is I don't want to answer that because I feel like that is a very dangerous breeding ground for jealousy. And jealousy is something that I've gotten better about managing, but it's still something that rears its ugly head from time to time. It is very easy to see a show that's really popular or someone who's getting cast in a lot of roles and be like, and to covet it, to be like, I want that. And it's not worth that stress. If I want to be a part of a show, if someone's voicing a character that I wanted to voice, I should find out why they got cast. I should listen to their performance. I should practice that type of performance, take workshops so that I get better at it. I should use them as catalysts for learning rather than catalysts for wishing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really great advice, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I can totally relate to that.
Yeah. So I can voice acting. What are some of your goals?
The goalposts are always moving because, as you know, when I got started in voiceover, my life goal before I died was to voice in an anime. I think we might have met that maybe at this point. When I won Exile 2009 and I proved to myself that this was something I could actually do, my goal became, I want to voice in something that gets aired, in any capacity, like on Toonami or on any other type of broadcast system. The goal has switched to being I want to be a named character in an anime. I want to be a character in a video game who doesn't die. I want to be a lead character in a video game. I'd like to be in someone who shows up in a sequel. The big one that is kind of met was, for the longest time, I had a goal of I want to voice a main party member in a dungeon crawler. A first-person dungeon, like Etrian Odyssey or Demon Gaze, because Etrian Odyssey is my favorite dungeon crawler genre game of all time. I'm talking when Nexus came out for the 3DS, I beat it from start to finish, 100%, whatever the 3DS version of Platinum would be, on the absolute hardest difficulty. And so I really, really, for the longest time, wanted to hopefully get auditions for the next Etrian Odyssey game and have a chance to either be a party member from the story mode or even just a voice type selection for create your own party member. Hasn't happened yet, and now since Nexus was the last game for the 3DS, I don't know if it's going to continue. But I have managed to meet that goal because I voice a lead character's child version in Zonky Zero Last Beginning. Yeah, so the goalposts are always moving. I would say right now, if I had to pick a voice acting goal to shoot for, it's hard because I would like to. I guess technically Guido Mista is a protagonist because, well, while Giorno is the lead role of Golden Wind, it is one of those like Mystery Inc. type shows where everyone works together. So I'd say the big one is I really need to figure out what I'm missing in terms of Western animation, like Rick and Morty or Steven Universe. I have not yet broken into the Western animation side of things, and I need to learn how. I need to figure out what to do.
Yeah, that'd be
Alright.
cool.
So
I
basically,
love to see
the grind don't stop.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So, what's the most rewarding part of voice acting for you?
Getting to be a part of all of these different worlds. Like, there's so much stuff that can happen in video games and anime that just cannot happen in real life or wouldn't be reasonable to happen in real life that I get to do and get to be paid for, you know? Even if it's as simple as the arena announcer in Detective Pikachu. I got to see the words Gengar wins, you know? When like the very first opening to Red and Blue was a Gengar fighting a Nidorino. It's just that callback. And on a more serious kind of existential side, I'm always going to be afraid of death. I'm always going to be really. I don't understand the mental process where someone can say I'm okay with passing on, because I always want to have something else to work towards, something else to live for. So for me, voiceover is kind of my way of achieving immortality, because as long as the media exists that lets you play a game or show that I've been in, all you have to do is play that media, and I'm right there to keep you company.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Okay, what advice would you give to aspiring voice actors?
All right, this has the potential to be one of the longest answers, so I'm gonna shorten it to what I give to everyone who asks how do I get into voice acting. Number one, go to iwanttobeavoiceactor.com by D. Bradley Baker, the most prolific creature voice person alive today. Just read everything that he's written. There's probably stuff he's written since the last time I visited that I haven't read yet, and I need to go back and read it, because if you read everything on that site cover to cover and then you start practicing voiceover, you will already be leagues ahead of like 90% of people who jump into the craft blind. Link number two is voiceactingmastery.com. That's a podcast and workshop hosted by Crispin Freeman. Link number three is voiceovervoiceactor.com. It's a warm-up website and a book sold by Yuri Lowenthal and Tara Platt. And then, of course, I mentioned this earlier, link 4 would be the Voice Acting Club, or voiceactingclub.com, for when you want to actually start networking and practicing and building your portfolio of roles.
I believe Steve Bloom does classes too.
He does.
Are you a manga reader? If so, what are your favorite mangas?
I don't read manga as much anymore, although I was really big on it back in the day. Like, there were times when after my job was done, I would go to Barnes & Noble and just sit at the Starbucks cafe for 3-4 hours and read Death Note cover to cover. But my personal absolute favorite, which I don't think a lot of people have heard of, is called Jing, King of Bandits. I
remember that.
I really enjoyed Jing and his bird buddy. Maybe that was a precursor to some of my favorite roles or my typecasting. But I just liked how he solved problems and how he thwarted bad guys in the series. It's been too long for me to remember specific events, but that was a manga where every time I read a new volume, I had no idea what was going to happen. It wasn't I've seen the anime, I just want to see how it goes in the manga. It was brand new to me, and it was all entertaining.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember reading that manga as well. That was a good one.
It was kind of like a teenage version of Lupin the Third.
And then the other half of the question is there a particular manga would you love to see to get an anime adaptation?
I don't know enough. Any manga I could probably name, you'd probably be like, oh, it did get an anime adaptation. I'm going to change that question is, what's an anime that you really want to read the manga for? Like, that you haven't read the manga, but you've seen the anime. I really want to read Gantz, the manga, because it goes way farther than the anime does. And I've heard, I want to experience more of that world. I didn't have enough just from what the anime gave. So Gantz is definitely an anime I've seen that I want to go back and read the manga for.
I haven't seen that one, but I think it's the same concept as The World Ends With You.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. Tell us what are among your favorite animes?
For comedy, Daily Lives of High School Boys, Cromartie High School, Infernal Cop by a Mile. For drama or action is Full Metal Alchemist, both the original and Brotherhood, Cowboy Bebop. for sinus trouble is Anohana. Yeah, those are the main ones that immediately come to mind.
So now we're into the gaming questions. How does your work voice acting in television series different from your work voice acting in video games?
Now, when you say television series, I assume you mean anime, right?
Yeah, I believe that's right. Yeah.
Well, audition-wise, it's not really any different. Recording-wise, the major difference is with anime, you'll have the script in front of you. You'll literally be seeing the scene or the line that you're about to dub. And then obviously you have to, it's obviously the hardest form of voiceover because you have to match the tonality, you have to match the Japanese performance in some metrics, but you also have to match the lip flaps, which sometimes involves changing words around. And so you have to do all of this while still capturing the original intent. For video games, typically, you won't see the actual visuals of the game unless it's like a pre-rendered cutscene that you're dubbing to, which makes it closer to anime in that case. But in most cases, it's just the full script. Sometimes you'll see the surrounding lines from other cast members. Sometimes you'll only see your own lines, especially if it's just like battle chatter and stuff like that. And then either they will give you a timestamp of how long it must be. There's 3 different versions. There's either exact timestamp, which is the Japanese recording is 3 seconds, and your recording needs to be between 2.9 to 3.1 seconds, no shorter, no longer. There's the Japanese recording is 3 seconds, and you can be anywhere under that, but you can't be longer than 3 seconds. And then there's the Japanese is this long, but doesn't matter. It's time to when the player presses the A button, so just go ham, you know. Yeah, so those are the major differences.
Wow, it's really precise. It sounds like.
Yeah, it can be at times.
All right, so next one. Do you have any favorite video games?
The big ones from my childhood are Legend of Mana, which now I'm super hopeful will get a remake because this has been a great year for me in terms of games being remade. Because Legend of Mana is probably going to get a remake. Crystal Chronicles is on the way. The fact that we're getting Dragon Warrior monsters might be coming over to the West via the Switch and the old Dragon Quest games. It's a lot of those favorites are really big for me. Mega Man Legends was a huge thing for me. And one that I always would end up going back to was Paper Mario and also Bomberman 64 The Second Attack. And Jade Cocoon 2. Jade Cocoon 2 for PlayStation 2.
Nice. I'm actually playing through Untitled Goose Game right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I just gotta get through the other challenges just so I get the crown. All right, so what was it like to voice Revali
Revali?
With Raleigh from Breath of the Wild?
I loved him and I hated him. I have a. I wish it's easy when I get asked this question in text interviews because I can actually link the Facebook post. Revali was an incredibly stressful character for me because one, you know, Zelda game with voice acting. When has that ever gone awry? You know, so I knew it was going to be heavily scrutinized right from the get-go. But also when I came in with this understanding of his character, but we ended up going in a completely different direction for him, and I start from square one. I was really scared that I wasn't going to be able to give him the performance that I knew he deserved and that I wanted him to have. I'm super grateful that it happened with him because he was a character I refused to give up on. And so I was willing to suffer as much as I needed to find where I needed to be, to have the director guide me to where I needed to be in order to succeed with this character. And I'm so grateful that in the end, Revali is one of the more positively received champions in terms of his performance in Breath of the Wild. I'm very grateful for that. That was one of those, man, I hope I don't suck times 1,000. That was more of, man, I hope I'm not part of the reason Nintendo never, ever, ever gives voice acting to Zelda ever again.
Yeah. We never talk about those Zelda CDI games anyway. There's that for a reason.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, please.
Okay. Do you often watch a film/show or play the game that you voiced in?
only when it happens to be a genre that I play in the first place. Like, I don't play tactics games like Fire Emblem very often. I'm trying to think of, obviously when I started really voicing an anime was when I cut the cable cord, so I didn't get a chance to watch it on stuff like Toonami. It wasn't until recently that I actually got to play games that I voiced in, like Chocobo Mystery Dungeon, Everybody, and Astral Chain. And that's part of why I want to voice in stuff like Zonky Zero or in like dungeon crawlers, because if it's a dungeon crawler, I've probably played it. That's a lot easier. So I don't go out of my way to watch them or play the game, but it just so happens that not a lot of the stuff I voiced are things that I play at the same time. So yes, it was cool getting to hear myself as Reen Schwarzer in Trails of Cold Steel. And that's also why I was really hoping ReZero would get picked up on Toonami, because that would have helped. That would have convinced me to buy a cable subscription. So,
kind of curious, though, would you be interested in seeing Revali be played with Smash Ultimate?
Yeah, it's never gonna happen, but it would be cool if it was.
I mean, realistically, I would probably see him as probably a Falco clone.
Was he already a spirit? He's a spirit.
Yeah, he's a spirit.
Yeah, it's done. It's not happening. don't get my hopes up. It's not a thing.
Please don't do that. Don't give me hope.
Right.
So, how does it feel to have been a part of a fundraiser to raise over 100K for a charity for just playing Pokemon Crystal for 3.5 hours?
Oh, the record setter at SGDQ.
Yeah.
That was my very first time hosting. That was my first host ever. That's all. I'm just gonna repeat that, man. Like, very first time hosting for a GDQ event, and it becomes the highest earning non-Saturday run in GDQ's history.
Amazing.
Like, you don't need to write anything else about that. That's the story. That's the whole arc right there. So I'm super grateful. I'm honestly, all I can say to that is I'm really glad that when I sang the Keys Are On theme song that I didn't go off key, because that could have gone so much worse. That could have gone way worse.
Right. So then I gotta ask, do you have any plans to attend or possibly host again in the future?
If they'll have me back, it's really just a matter of I applied for AGDQ and I didn't score high enough to get selected as one of the hosts this time around. But if I manage to get picked in the future, then yeah, I'm definitely interested in going.
All right, so does somebody want to take over the next questions?
Yep, I think these are mine. So, how have your convention experiences, as far as anime conventions, things like that, been?
It's okay. It's hard to say this without it sounding like one of those jerk celebrity, like, oh yes, you favor me. Conventions are really my only vacations right now. Like, it's my opportunity to get to chill and have like a defined schedule where like I'm done for the day once my panels are done. I have a food stipend so I can treat myself to food for 2 to 3 days. I'm getting paid to show up somewhere. There's usually food in the green room. Are you noticing a trend here?
Yes, we are. And I'm getting hungry again just thinking about it.
So,
it all comes down to food.
I just appreciate that. And also because whenever I'm on a plane, it's like, oh, I can actually play my Switch for 2 to 3 hours because there's nothing else I can do up here. So, that's really all it is. It's I don't think of it as, oh, I had fun at this convention or I didn't have fun at this convention. I am being paid in exchange for my time and attention and interacting with attendees and fans who come to see me or want to share their memories of stuff that I've been in. And in return, I get to just unwind. It may sound like it's super stressful, like hosting panels and having to interact with people, but I'm fine with that because it means something to them. It's meaningful to them and it makes their day, and I'm getting paid for it in the first place. And then once I'm done with that, I can just treat myself. And that's not something that I really get to do very often. There's a lot of at-home stress of, sending out auditions and looking after my vocal health and not really being able to enjoy video games because I'm either trying to prepare for a session tomorrow, or I'm like, oh, you haven't done this work yet. Oh, now the wife is home. You need to make sure you spend time with her, which I do, and I enjoy that. But I'm just saying it leads to not having time for stuff like gaming and stuff like that. It's just very stressful. So when I go to these conventions, it's a predefined schedule. There is open time to do the stuff that I want to do because the wife has to work and she's not going to come with me to the convention. So I get to enjoy a different level of relaxation there that doesn't happen at home.
Gotcha.
Well, that's cool. Yeah.
So, do you have any favorite conventions you've attended?
Both of them are furry conventions, funnily enough. I loved being a guest of honor at FWA because they went all in with their theming. Like their theme that year was pirates, and their opening ceremony was on a stage that had been completely decked out to look like a pirate ship, complete with giant inflatable octopi. They went all in. They were super committed. When we had the special guest gala, a dinner for VIP people, I got to perform as Captain Goldfang, which was one of the voices that I performed for their promo videos. So I was just heckling the audience for 30 minutes straight, just making jokes about the convention and treating them like they were new crew members. It was really, really fun and really interactive, and I loved that. And the food was great too. And the second one, Biggest Little Fur Con BLFC, which always takes place in Reno, Nevada. Some of my best friends within that fandom I have met through BLFC, and every year that we go and we meet up there and we just blow through like $200 spending 8 hours at a virtual craps table, and when I get like 8 free mimosas in 3 hours, it's amazing. And the food is great too.
Mimosas sound nice as well. You love making mimosa.
I live in the Reno Tahoe area, so I'm familiar with the convention.
Like,
in fact, you told a funny story this year. You went to my favorite sushi place and were calling something out, trying to get somebody's attention, and the owner was like, "I'm going to give you a job," and the owner's one of my buddies. So
yeah.
Funny.
Oh wait,
I'm friends with Truman. Truman's a great guy, and yeah, it was funny. Him and I were talking about that story when I told him I was doing this interview. So Truman says hi.
Well, I don't know if he told you this one. Is this like a PG-13 interview? Like, can I swear once for the sake of?
No, I don't think it'll be a problem.
Okay. So we were at this long table. We were in the back room, and it was our big group of like 16, and then another big group of 16, and then this tiny group of like 4 men and 4 women that were like, I didn't see them, but I later learned they were like 40-year-olds. So anyway, the owner guy comes around, and for those of you who are listening in who don't know, he has this. He is really big on the convention scene. Like, he makes a big family out of all the convention people who come to eat there. So he will always treat all the big groups that come to eat. He'll treat them to sake bombs for free at the end. And so he'll hype the whole room up. He'll be like, sake bomb, sake bomb, sake bomb. So he's going down the table. You want sake bomb? You want sake bomb? You want sake bomb? You know, everyone's like, yeah, I want a sake bomb. He goes down to the end table of these 40-something-year-olds. He's like, you all want sake bomb? And like this 40-year-old woman's like, oh, no, I'm really not interested. He's like, oh, come on, you want sake bomb? And she's like, no, thank you, I'm not interested. And I hear him say, and he's acting all depressed, so I knew something was up. So from the opposite end of the room, I shout out, don't be such a sake bitch! everyone in the room is going nuts. And here's the thing, the owner guy is like, oh shit! You got told!
Oh my god. That's hilarious, man.
That's Truman to a T. That's he's a good guy. I've known him for many years. So.
He went all in. I love him to death, and now I'll pay for the sake bomb round next year. Like, I feel so bad for the woman. I thought it was part of our group, you know, like part of the convention group coming in. So I feel bad that I did it, but I don't regret that I did it.
So, are there any conventions you plan to attend in the future that you can talk about, whether as a guest or just going for yourself?
I will be at DaishoCon in late November, and that's the only one that's currently on the books. I think that I'm in talks to be at a convention that's happening in March, but nothing has been signed yet. So,
right on. So, all right. So these are into a little bit more, personal questions. So, what did you want to be when you grew up? When you were a kid. Aside from voice acting, if there was something else. A
dinosaur before DNA said sorry, not happening. a Pokemon, which I was able to do briefly by rolling myself up my bed blankets and then doing like a transformation sequence. I'm so glad that didn't turn into a kink. And then a veterinarian for pets before I realized that involved drawing blood. And when I learned that very quickly fell to the wayside. So I have settled for lover of pets and petter of pets. So yeah, that's all. So I'm very, very grateful for voiceover, because if it weren't for that, I don't know what I'd be doing.
And so what are your top 3 favorite books?
BFG, The Big Friendly Giant.
Nice.
I swear I've read books before. Don't harass me. I feel attacked right now. I'm trying to not count manga, because those aren't books. Damn, I read a lot of books when I was younger. The Giver. That was one that I really enjoyed.
Nice.
And what was the last one? Sorry, I'm just trying to think back, because
It's all good.
Yeah.
what was a third book that really spoke to me? This doesn't really count as the book, I guess, but the Sarcasm Dictionary. It's a dictionary that's entirely based on like
Ooh.
it like describes like the word, and then it gives like a funny definition of that word, like insistent. That one guy who really won't let up on asking you to watch that romantic comedy with him. Like, something like that. It's way funnier than that example I just gave, but
Looks like a fun book. I feel like that could be really useful.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, have you ever been to Japan? And if so, what was it like? And if not, would you want to go one day?
Okay. Sorry, my wife just came home and brought me lemonade, which is food, so I'm very happy right now.
Nice.
What was the question?
So, have you ever been to Japan? And if so, what was it like? And if not, would you want to go one day?
I was there in 2016 visiting with a friend for what was supposed to be 3 weeks, and then I had to leave for 2.5 weeks in because of Breath of the Wild stuff. But I was there for Summer Comic-Con. Here's a couple of examples of what we did. We happened upon a food festival, and the food was good. We went to Kuda Sushi like once every 2 days, and we ate what would have been $60 worth of sushi here in Los Angeles for $20 plus a tip. Or no, they don't like tips. For $20 in Japan. We went to the Miyagi-Zao Fox Village, and I had a Vulpix follow me for about 30 minutes.
Oh man.
We played Smash, where every time you won a set in Smash Brothers, you had to do a shot of sake, and after 6 sets in a row, we decided to change the rules because I was getting pretty hammered. That was the night before Comic-Con, so on my way to Comic-Con the following morning, I threw up twice and then had to stand in 95-degree temperature surrounded by hundreds of people, thousands of people.
Right on.
Sounds like some interesting times.
It was a blast. Like, I really do want to go back. It was the suffering in the summer heat was not fun, but everything else about it was really cool. Like, I would have no qualms about going back.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So obviously you mentioned video games and whatnot, but do you have any other hobbies?
Crying myself to sleep. I'm super addicted to Dragalia Lost. Like, Dragalia Lost is a mobile game by Nintendo and Cygames. It's a gacha game, and I've spent about $8,000 on it so far.
Oh, wow.
Actually, literally, in the process, as soon as I'm done with this interview, I'm going to go back to running expert dragon trials with my alliance. I actually am the leader of my alliance in the game, and now it's gotten to a point where our players, the people that I've amassed over time, are skilled and consistent enough that now we have people actively wanting to join our guild. So now I have to manage that and act as a leader every day, in addition to everything else I do with my career. But they're great players. Last night, the master difficulty of one of the dragons released, just that one, it's the hardest known content in the game currently available, and a team of 4 people, including myself from my alliance, were the second in the world to clear it.
Oh, wow.
Whoa. Congratulations, man. That's
cool.
really cool. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, it seems like you definitely have built it up after playing for so long.
Right.
So that's cool. And you said it was a gotcha game? Is that what you called it?
Gotcha. Gotcha meaning it's a game where there are usually you obtain all of your units or upgrade items mostly through pulling a slot machine style. It's like a summoning, like Fire Emblem Heroes.
Oh yeah.
So there's a big pay to win element, but generally you can get anything in the game for free, but you can pull more often if you spend money.
Okay, nice. Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I actually fall
So-
victim to that in Kingdom Hearts Union Cross.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your guilty pleasure?
Crying myself to sleep.
Hey, what's your hobbies? I like that.
I don't really have. I'm very vocal about all of my pleasures. I love dungeon crawlers. I love food. I love curry. I treat myself to curry all the time. Probably my guilty pleasure is Dragalia because yes, I've spent a lot of money on it, but it's a game that I have a lot of fun with. I love staying on top of new content. I love what my alliance has become in the game. It's a community now. Originally, the alliance was like 6 people in Discord. Now we've got 28 different members. Like I'm super proud of that. And it's something I'm super invested in. So yeah.
That's
Right on.
awesome. It's totally worth it for you because you get that much enjoyment out of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
So, is there anything you're currently working on other than JoJo that you can tell us something about, or that you might want to tease or promote? You know, anything
can't-
that's not
I can't-
NDA'd.
I can't talk about it yet, but I'm telling everyone right now to stay tuned to my Twitter because there is a project that I am a part of that is it is bigger to me than Breath of the Wild is.
Wow.
Even though I don't
Wow.
even though in terms of audience, it absolutely is not as big of an audience as Breath of the Wild was or will have been. But to me, it is that moment of if I told myself from 10 years ago that this would be a thing, they would never believe it. So
Wow.
Alright.
That's
Notifications
exciting, dear.
on.
See, that's a good.
So please stay tuned on my Twitter because that's where all of my announcements happen. And I didn't get to have the fulfillment with ReZero coming out that I will with this project. So it would mean a lot to me if you stick around and share in my joy when the time comes.
Turning notifications on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye out for that.
Mhm.
So, all right. Well, I guess I'll take the last question since we're at the end here. So, is there anything else you want to add, or anything you'd like to say to the fans before we close out?
Here's the link to my SoundCloud if you want to make donations. I've been pretty vocal about. Oh, I'm hungry as hell. I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah, that's always good to promote.
Be genuine and be shameless in your passions because a lot of the greatest things in media or in our lives happen when passionate people come together. There are so many projects that may not be like Breath of the Wild big that mean so much to me because I took my passion for voiceover and I worked for someone who was passionate about game design or someone who's passionate about sound design or something like that. And if you live a life focused on following and enjoying and engaging in your passions that mean something to you, as long as they don't infringe on the happiness of others, obviously. Let's not be Nazis here, okay? If you engage in your passions authentically, you will naturally attract both people who want to work with you and people who want to support you, and you will just lead a happier life in general. Yeah, I know I think it's a more thorough version of be yourself. It's just be genuine in what you like. Don't be afraid of sharing what you like and sharing your nerdiness about something that means a lot to you to the world, because eventually you will find people who share that passion, and then you'll have yourself friends, you'll have yourself a community, you'll have yourself a family outside of your own family, and it's worth it.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really inspiring to hear. Well,
Right.
that's great, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this and taking time to speak with us tonight.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
I can't
Yeah.
believe we got through all of them.
Yeah.
Neither can I.
Yeah.
I was actually
So,
surprised.
yeah. So, where can we find you on social media?
Definitely Twitter is the main one, at Sonic Mega. I don't really use Facebook for anything except like personal reflective life posts about my own life, but just like just follow me. Just follow me for my posts. Don't friend me because I only friend like colleagues and other people that I actually know in real life. Twitter is where everything happens. It's where the announcements happen. It's where I post about like game updates. It's where I hold giveaway raffles. Twitter is the big one if you want to keep abreast of my life and my activities.
And that
Awesome.
pretty much wraps it up.
Sweet.
Yep.
Well, that was really interesting. Thank you so much again. That was really cool to hear all your different stories and just all your different takes on what what you've been through in your voice acting career.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I guess that about wraps it up for this interview. So
Okay.
we will see you guys all next time, and thank you for listening into the interview. Well, take care, guys.